Hey everyone, welcome back to another Porter's Product Marketing Podcast, the show where we sit down with the sharpest mind in the field to unpack product marketing and what it looks like in the trenches. So I'm your host, Josh Porter, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Yi Lin Pei. She's a product marketing coach and career advisor. She's got a powerful blend of real-world PMM experience with companies like Teachable and Autodesk, along with academic journey that includes a master's in civil engineering from Georgia Tech and an MBA from UC Berkeley. She's coached and advised over 250 clients in the past 4 years and named one of the top 25 marketing voices on LinkedIn by Exit 5. And on a personal note, she's been my coach for some time now. She's just been amazing, really strategic thinker, and very excited to have her on the show today. Specifically, we're going to talk about how product marketers can operate day to day using our favorite topic, AI. Yi Lin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. I've been really looking forward to this. I know we tried to schedule this in, and I've just been waiting for this for months. So really excited to chat with you here.
Absolutely, likewise. Let's dive right in with the first question. Where do you see the most meaningful impact of AI in product marketing today?
That is a great question. I think the best way for me to answer it is to contrast the old way with the new way, post AI, if that's helpful.
Yes.
So imagine a day before AI, what did we do, right? As product marketers, we basically have to do everything. Like, let's give an example. Let's say you're trying to create positioning and messaging from information from sales calls, right? You would probably first start out by gathering insights from sales teams and then looking through this core recording to pull out those key insights and then manually create your value matrices, your different frameworks, right? And then getting that information tweaked and iterated and then passed around to different teams and get that buy-in.
Yeah.
So that might take you like 30 hours or something to do. So there's a lot of manual work upfront that's needed to turn this into a valuable output. Now, with AI, a lot of that upfront work can really be automated. In addition to gong recordings, which I believe automatically helps generate summaries, you
Yeah.
can also just literally copy paste all the transcripts, ask ChatGPT any question or any AI tool, and then it gives you the most important insights. And if you submit the right framework to it as input, you can actually automatically generate positioning and messaging, value matrices, and everything, and which will give you a really great first draft. And then from there, you can use your human brain to tweak it, to refine it, right? Because that's where really the best output comes from. But then that has already sped up so much of the work that's involved in creating this core product marketing deliverable. So for me, the role of AI now in product marketing is to really speed up those repetitive tasks, including synthesizing of data and information, automating intelligence and information gathering, right? And so that it can help you generate first drafts earlier and faster, and also allow you to iterate through different ideas and experiment much faster.
Yeah, I love that. So, really, what I'm hearing from that answer is the ability to basically augment yourself with AI as opposed to you had to do so many manual tasks before, but now you can automate some of those tasks. And then going beyond that is synthesizing some of your capability, some of the information you get from AI, and then blending that so that it's not just pure AI results you get, but you're showing your point of view that's been supplemented by AI.
100%. So to put it, in a one sentence, it's basically to use AI to replace the most repetitive work so that you can free up your time to focus on the most strategic work.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it so that you're getting rid of those boring manual tasks so you can really do what product marketers are supposed to do is to really kind of think about the business strategy. And
Absolutely, yeah. There's one analogy I really like to give, which is calling ourselves orchestrators.
uh-huh.
So recently, I did an AI report in product marketing. I think you've probably read that.
Yeah.
Basically, I collected insights from 200 plus PMMs. I think yourself included,
Yep.
right? To really understand how they think AI is going to change the work of product marketers. And the word that really stood out to me was orchestrator. So really the role of product marketing is now just using different tools like instruments in an orchestra, right? and then composing like a beautiful output together. That's
Yes.
me. The value of product marketing.
And it definitely, and I'll put a plug in for those product marketers out there about that report. It's really super useful, practical, and handy. So, and that was also one of the impetus for this particular conversation. And so I think you'll find that particularly helpful, but we'll definitely kind of talk through some of those things in this conversation.
Sure.
So, so what's the most common mistake PMMs make when integrating AI into their workflows, and how can they avoid it?
That's a great question, and I think it's very much related to what we said in the first part. And I think the biggest mistake is really to rely on AI too much. From serving everybody from that report, 95% of PMMs now use AI daily or weekly. That's a huge percent of PMMs, right? Essentially, it's ubiquitous. Everybody's using AI.
Yes.
And therein, it creates a problem. It's overusage of AI. Because every time I look on the websites now and look at different positioning and messaging, they all sound exactly alike, right?
Yeah.
It's the same sentence structure. It's talking about the same things. And when that happens, nothing is going to stand out. So everything becomes mediocre. And that's where it's important to not forget your human touch. The reason why I love product marketing, and maybe some people hate product marketing, is because it's an art and a science, right?
Yes.
There's some parts of product marketing that is very quantifiable. There's a clear playbook. You just follow that process and you get to the best results. But there are also parts of product marketing like positioning, messaging, creating a strong narrative that are more art than science. It's
Yes.
it's the things that you can't really clearly tell an AI with a set process to create, right? And it's a lot about pattern recognition. It's understanding the nuances you have seen based on your own experience, having worked across so many different products, and making these connections that an AI is really not great at doing. So I think it's really, really important to use AI to automate those repetitive tasks, but don't forget to also use your human brain on top of it to make sure it stands out from everything else and is really truly reflecting the voice of the customer.
Totally. So two things I heard. One is, yeah, if everybody's using the same AI, then essentially the output is going to be the same. So that's hard because when, as a product marketer, when you're trying to differentiate, but you're ultimately
Mhm.
still using the same tool as your competitors, then the end result looks very similar.
Yeah.
So that can be hard. So then that leads to the other point that I think you're trying to make is AI is helpful to a point, and what cannot be automated is your point of view. And
100%.
and you as a product marketer, that's the thing that you bring with your set of experiences and skills, that your point of view is going to be unique outside of what AI is going to provide. Now, it can help you get there, but you ultimately are going to have something that's different than what everybody else is going to be using the same tool.
100%. And talking about this exact same concept and bringing to the job search process, this is also something I tell clients who are looking for a job right now, which is to share their point of view in the interview process if they're answering a question. Let's imagine somebody asks you the question, tell me a time you launched a product.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you just Google AI, they're going to give you the best frameworks with the right answers, right? This is exactly what you do, step 1, 2, 3, 4. And suddenly everybody's writing the same things and everybody has a great answer.
Yes.
That's where the problem lies, because I can no longer tell a great client from somebody who maybe just memorized the answer.
Mm.
Differentiation comes in the why behind what you're doing. The why is your point of view. So why did you use this channel and not another channel? Why did you use this metric and not somebody else? Why did you involve the PM at this particular time and not some other time? The why behind the what is what's going to differentiate you from somebody else, just like a company. So I think it's really important to pay attention to this, especially in the world of AI when everything is just looking alike.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's an interesting point. It's not just the actual assets and outputs that product marketers do while they're in their job. Product marketers looking for jobs, yes, they're also competing with people getting AI generated answers in response to those questions. So, and to your point on that, that's something I love that you taught me, about a year and a half ago, was about
Mhm.
the, instead of STAR story, it was the PSAR, the process, situation, action, result.
Mhm.
Get into that why did you do, you get into why did you do a certain process before you get into the tactics and the specifics.
100%. That's right.
So that's great. This is all super helpful. Good to kind of hear about where it's a mistake both in role and trying to get a role to use and lean on AI too much. All right, Elin. Next question is, can you walk us through a project where AI played a key role?
That's a great question. I think everybody wants a great product launch. So, product launch is a great place to use AI to automate different parts of the process. In fact, this is a process I've actually created with several different clients to help them with speeding up the launch process while retaining the creativity involved. So generally, I when I think about product launches, there are really four key parts. The
Okay.
first part is really to determine the strategic readiness of the launch. This is where the product marketer checks in with the product manager to make sure there is product market fit and there is validation of that through customer interviews, research, etc. Once that's established, then the product marketing moves on to creating the positioning and messaging we've talked about before.
Yep.
Then from there, that's where the external promotional plan, which to me is really about campaign activation, that's where it started, where it's going to be created. And then finally, the internal enablement plan. I'm going to go out and say this maybe controversial opinion right now, which is that I think launch checklists are really bad for doing
Okay.
launches because they really make people become really tactical instead of thinking very strategically.
Okay.
So with that said, I help people break it down into two different parts. First are the AI led parts. Which one of these different four places can AI automate? And I think these are the places they can really automate. Number one, help synthesize those research findings to help validate the product market fit early on, right? That's a great thing that AI can do.
Yep.
Second is to create a V1 of positioning and messaging if you feed it the right frameworks to analyze. Then during the external promotional plan, absolutely it's going to help you draft different copy content across channels, right? That's really what AI is great at. You give it great messaging, it's going to create a whole lot of different drafts on the different outputs it can generate to get promoted. And then same thing with with the internal enablement is going to help you produce draft enablement assets like FAQs and things like that. So
Yes.
those are the things that AI is really good at. And then for each step, there are also things you should do beyond just AI. For the first step of strategic readiness, the AI is not going to help you decide when to launch, right?
Mm,
The launch timing is something you have to determine.
yeah.
You may have to determine the timing based on market conditions. Maybe there's a conference coming up, or maybe there's a strategic need to launch at a certain season for a different product that you have. It's also not going to help you set the right business goals. That's something you have to set based on, again, what the goals of the business are, right? To make sure that works. And also the launch tiering and building strategy for that. From the positioning messaging we've talked about before, you're the final person who should revise, right? And make sure the positioning and messaging is really accurate and in the human voice, basically. And then from the promotional side, and I think this is super important, is to actually sit down with all your stakeholders, from field marketers to product managers, to actually determine the launch strategy before
Mhm.
you actually even go into the different launch activities, right?
Yes.
If we think about a launch, ultimately it's a marketing campaign. When you're doing a good marketing campaign, you think of a big idea. What is the big idea of this campaign? What is the theme? That should be the same for a
Yeah.
launch. Most of the time, we don't have any big idea. We just say this product is great, and then we talk about it in a different way, right, across so
Yeah.
many different channels. But I think it's really important to sit down and discuss a big idea, and that's where the human brain and creativity comes in to think about it. One great example I would say, if you want everybody want to check it out, is Shopify. Shopify does their launches really well, and they do it only 2 times a year. I believe there's a winter edition and a summer edition of their launch. Last year, their winter edition was called the boring edition. And because they realized, yeah, sometimes launches are boring. So they collected 150 small improvements and bundled all of them together and made something look like 80s, right? It's like an 80s newspaper classifieds or something. And
Interesting.
these are all the boring improvements. But if you don't want it to be boring, you can click a button and it literally plays little ads, right? And little like mini music videos for you to make it less boring. But that level of creativity is not going to be something that you just create, right? By putting a bunch of inputs in there. And finally, launch communications is done by human. Part of the success of a launch is how you communicate and manage stakeholders. When you feel something might be off, something is wrong, some team is falling behind, it's your job to realize that and bring everybody together to make sure the launch is successful. So all in all, Ultimately, it's about breaking down each project into different parts and then figure out which parts can be automated by AI and which parts should be done by you. And then move forward with that.
I like that. I like that. So basically, the idea is really seeing where you can automate yourself through AI, but then don't forget the human element of these pieces, which is bringing a point of view, also bringing the actual strategic thought process about why you're doing things, opposed to just getting directly into the tactics.
100%.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Well, great. Well, the next question we have for you is, in terms of skills, what do product marketers need to develop now so that they can stay relevant as AI becomes more embedded into the role?
Great question. I would start the answer by actually going a little bit high level and really align with you, right? And understand what makes a great product marketer to begin with. Like, forget about AI for a second. What
Mhm.
makes a great product marketer, period? And I think for in today's age where there's intense competition, right? With a lot of challenges with the macroeconomic climate and AI, the two things that are really important is one, delivering outcomes that are tied to results.
Yes.
And two, have great influence within the company.
Mhm.
Those two things will make a PMM really, really valuable. So, what that means is that learning just simply AI prompts is going to be table stakes. That is not what's going to help you tie your outcomes to results, nor is it what's going to help you drive influence. It might be part of it to help do your work well, but that's just going to be table stakes, right? So, I would say while it's important to focus on AI, it's just one of the things you have to focus on.
Okay.
So, what that means, in my opinion, what are the things that are most important are the following. Number one is really honing on mastering analytical reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
AI can synthesize a lot of different information, but it doesn't give you the best reasoning for why some information is the way it is.
Mm.
As an example, even when I was creating an AI report, obviously I asked AI to analyze the results from the survey, right? It's
Yeah.
very meta, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it would give me certain suggestions based on the results, but some of them were just not quite there, right? Which is something a little off about it. So that's where practicing your own analytical reasoning is going to be super important. Can you spot gaps, contradictions, or emerging patterns from data you're seeing? That's a skill to really practice. Second thing is creative thinking.
Mhm.
Going back to the positioning and messaging example, a lot of that is creative thinking. And I think for this, it's really important to go through actual great classical examples of marketing in history, right? As an example, Apple's think differently, and those are great things. It's going to be really hard for AI to come up with original ideas at that level. So
Yes.
really train yourself with analog best examples first before just defaulting everything to AI. I think the last thing is focusing on stuff that are just pure relationship driven. Going back to the cross functional influence piece, this is just so important. I would say the 50% of success of product marketer is going to be about cross functional influence. So figure out how you can build a relationship with other people, understand their needs and their concerns, and just be a good human so you build trust and they always come to you. Ultimately, the work of product marketer is really measured by what other teams say about us,
Yeah.
right? So that's going to be a really important piece. So I guess just to quickly summarize, it's going to be investing in AI skills to an extent, right? So
Yeah.
that you understand how to use it to perform certain tasks so you can do things faster. But then in addition to that is to invest in things that AI can't replace, because that is what's going to get you hired and also retained at a company.
Yeah. No, so I think that makes sense. So it's not only understanding, of course, the way to use AI, but on top of that, once you have that down, it's the analytical, creative, and influence skills on top of that.
100%. Yep.
Love it. Love it. That's super helpful.
Sure. One additional point I will say to that is it is important to get feedback and mentorship from people who are experts at what they're doing in product marketing, because that's just going to be so much different than what you're going to get from AI. If you
Yeah,
have your positioning messaging reviewed by an expert, it's not the same as a review by AI at all, right? So that way you're getting trained by best practices from a real human in addition to AI. That's going to give you more richness to what you're how you can improve.
absolutely. Yeah, that feedback can be precious, and it's not always easy to take in, but if you're able to really look at it through the lens of the way to improve, that can definitely take you places.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our main discussion, but before we let you go, it's time for the rapid fire round. Quick answers to whatever comes to mind first. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Awesome. First question, favorite marketing tool?
Fathom. How, yeah,
Really?
I know. I just love it so much. It just made my life so much easier. Basically, I don't have to take notes and I can analyze the conversation afterwards so I can pick up patterns and really kind of think back to our conversation and figure out the nuances of the discussion.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I discovered it just shortly before I know you started promoting it, and it is great in terms of note taking and then kind of synthesizing meetings. And so, yeah, I'm with you on that. That is definitely up there for me. So that's great.
Cool.
Next question: most underrated skill in product marketing?
Glad you brought that up. I would say it's pattern recognition, which is what I talked about earlier.
Yes.
Because great product marketers don't just respond to what stakeholders ask. You have to bring up new ideas and solutions. And in order to do that, you have to really understand from the different data, from the different conversations we had, what are opportunities that nobody has brought up before. And that means you're going to create net new opportunities for the companies, right? When
Yeah.
you're creating net new opportunities, that's when you're the most valued. So I think pattern recognition is really, really key to becoming a good product marketer.
Yeah, I love that because it's about taking the experiences you've had and seeing what works and what doesn't over time. And then going beyond that, it can be very easy as a product marketer to just be responsive and say, "Oh yeah, I created this one pager because the sales team asked me," or "I did this launch because that's what the product team wanted to do." But the value comes in and bringing ideas that weren't brought to you, so that you can share. These are the insights I had. These are the recommendations I had. This is how I plan to do it. So I love that.
Awesome. I'm loving these questions, by the way.
Good, good, good. Next question is, what's the biggest mistake to avoid in product marketing?
Okay, apart from overusing AI, I would say another one is forgetting internal stakeholders.
Hmm.
And this is especially important if you're a founding PMM or in a small PMM team, because most other stakeholders around you don't have a great understanding of product marketing. So it's
Yeah.
your job to number one, educate them, and two, set clear expectations and boundaries around what you can do and cannot do. And of course, lastly, is to provide actual value right to them based on what they want and what they need. So that way, there is that alignment and understanding internally. A lot of times when I speak to product marketers today, they're super focused on just delivering work because they don't have a lot of bandwidth. But I think that is a dangerous path to go down because you could just be heads down doing work and nobody knows what you're doing, or
Yes.
they don't see the value of what you're doing. And then you're working so hard, but then you're not seeing the results of your labor and you might even be laid off. So thinking about marketing should be internal and external.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I think that's really important so that you can do tons of work, but if other key stakeholders don't recognize that, then it doesn't matter if it's the best launch that's ever happened or one of the greatest assets ever built. If people aren't aware of it and the value that it provides, then it's kind of almost as if it didn't exist.
Yeah, 100%.
Next question is, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started in product marketing?
That's a good one. I guess it's one thing I wish I knew, but also one thing I've learned throughout the time, right, is that being helpful isn't the same as being strategic.
Hmm.
Because our job is so cross-functional, a lot of times we want to add value to to our stakeholders, as I've mentioned before. But adding value is not just saying yes to people. It's also about giving them a point of view, even if it's a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
As an example, if salespeople come to you to say, I need you to create this brochure, this information needs to be delivered this way, you can't the the initial response should not be, oh sure, I'll do that. The initial response should be asking about the why. Why do you need this? Tell me more about the business need for this. Can you give me some examples and everything? And whatever they're saying doesn't make much sense, or you feel like it could be done better, suggest that, or even push back to say maybe this isn't the right thing for you at this point, but I would suggest something else. That level of strategic insight and value you're going to add to somebody is going to be way more than just saying yes. And I think this is where a lot of people, especially people early on in their journey as a product marketer, have trouble with, because it's not easy to work with sales, right? Like nobody is going to say sales are the easiest people to work with. Like zero people I've heard say that.
Uh-huh.
So, and they're difficult to work with, and part of it is just learning how to deal with different kinds of personalities. Basically, stick to what's right, and then share your feedback with them by pushing back if necessary, instead of being a yes person.
I love that. Yeah. So avoid being a yes person and really trying to add value. And sometimes that comes in the form of disagreeing with what somebody's asking you to do. And oftentimes, I think you're right. They may not like it, but they might respect your strategic thought about either this doesn't fit in the priorities that I'm doing. I'm trying to focus on my main priorities, or two, if you're asking them why, it helps them to think about it instead of just gut reaction. Oh, well, this is a product marketing problem, so we'll just ship it off to them. But if you show you're asking them why and they have to think about it, then that definitely shows them that you are also thinking about how you're approaching it.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome.
All right. Well, one last question. The funnest one. What's your favorite podcast?
Oh my gosh. There's so many, but the one I listen to most often is Prof G's podcast.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think you know Prof G.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a professor. Yeah, he's the NYU professor, Scott Galloway.
Yes.
He has very spicy and interesting takes on different things, and I like to listen to it. Partly just to hear a different perspective on a lot of different issues, because he does tend to go pretty hard on certain issues. So it's just very interesting to listen to.
Totally. Yeah. I think he either described or somebody described him as a raging moderate.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah. So
Cool.
really, yeah, very interesting points of view for sure.
Right.
All right, Yi Lin. Well, this has been a very thoughtful conversation. Thanks for sharing your insights and examples and helping PMs get a clearer view of how to engage with AI without the buzzword overload. So thanks very much for your time here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. And for everyone else, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow Porter's Product Marketing Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. And if you're experimenting with AI in your own PMM work, I'd love to hear what you're working on or what's not working for you. So drop your thoughts and comments or tag us in your learnings. Until next time, keep launching, keep learning, keep making it real.